1969. I was a little girl in South Sumatra, in Palembang. And my father was a CEO of a big company. But at that time, parents would spend time to have lunch with the children. So my dad would go home at 12 and had lunch with us, all the children, and then he would go back to the office. And in my surrounding there, the neighborhood, there was still forest, there was still river, and there was still a lot of poor people. There was a beggar who would come from house to house, bringing the ragged white sacks, and each house would give him a cup of rice. It was not money, but only a cup of rice, so maybe he would not be starving. Of course, he would come to our house too. And my mom would prepare special plate with a special glass, special food for my father. That's how we respect the father. It's special food for him. I saw the tukang minta-minta, that beggar came, and I saw the cook would come with a cup of rice, but then I saw the food on the table, and I thought, oh, he might be hungry. Why don't I just give it to him? So I put it in a big tin can, put my father's food there with the rice, with the fish, with everything for him, and gave it to him. And I could still remember his eyes, like disbelief and sparkling, and that old man was like, until now I still can imagine his face. So he ate there. But when my mom found out, she was confused and furious because there was no food for the father. There was no restaurant, there was no cafe. She had to cook. And I said, you don't do that again, because we could give a cup of rice, but not your father's food. I did the same thing the second day. And I did the same thing the third day. On the fourth day, maybe my mom thought, this little girl could not be told. So she told the cook to hide all the food on top of the kitchen cabinet. I was so small, I couldn't reach it. So that food was safe. I had my own. So my lunch, what did I do with that? I gave it to him. And my mom said, maybe you don't understand Bahasa Indonesia. Which part that you don't understand? Do not give the food, because we give the rice. And I was not sad, I was not angry, I was just feeling like I felt him. And my mom said, no lunch. It's okay, you can give yours, but no lunch for you. I was not crying, I just walking to the neighbor and, went into the kitchen, talking to, I had a very, very, very loving neighbor, Mbak Sri. And they fed me. Have you had your lunch? Come eat with us. So I had lunch at my neighbor, and the biggest sister was the dancing teacher. So after lunch, I got the free lesson of dancing. And I dance. I dance and dance. My mom didn't know about it. Because she finished the lunch. And I just went away to my neighbor. And I I still remember that feeling. And I'm happy that I could keep that feeling because then I became an activist. I was the chairwoman of the Legal Aid Foundation for Women and Children, and I also did the establishment of the KPK, the Independent Commission Against Corruption, like the Indonesian Corruption Watch. That feeling of that little girl, I know that in my heart, I'm an activist because I had a long career. I was in investment banking. I was in the biggest advertising agency, J. Walter Thompson. I was in the first class of on the plane, in a hotel and everything. But I knew deep in my heart, I've never stopped to become an activist. That was my story in 1969 and 1999. This is what I wanted to share to you. We went to Durban, South Africa for the OECD conference on the anti-corruption conference. So delegates from all over the world. I came with Professor Dr. Emil Salim. He used to be the former Minister of Environment, and he became activist after retirement. And I helped him to prepare the presentation. 1999, we did the presentation with the slides. So he could do it with his handwriting. And I was the one who suggested him to use the slide with the handwriting. And he would talk in the plenary session. The plenary session was the biggest session. There was like 2,500 delegates there. There was James Wolfenson at that time, the director of IMF, and the president of Transparency International. There was also the CEO of OECD, and of course Nelson Mandela, because it was in South Africa. And Prof. Emil said, this will be a plenary session, and after that there would be the question and answer. I said, oh, I really want to ask a question. How do I do that? Sit next to me, he said. There would be hundreds of hands. So after the plenary finished, there would be a question and answer, and okay, who would want to ask a question? I raised my hands, and like hundreds of hands also. But Prof. Emil was right, and somebody said, that girl? Me? From Indonesia. I was so happy but also shocked. Oh, I better have a good question. Because maybe they chose me because first I'm a woman. Second, I'm from Asia, from Indonesia. That was very famous at that time because we were the champion of the corruption. That was 1999, just 1 year after Suharto stepped down. I think, well, this is my chance. So I raised my hand and they asked, okay, who do you want to question? I said, of course, Nelson Mandela. I said, Mr. Mandela, would you share with us what is the biggest obstacles? When you become president, what's the most difficult thing that you think? Because we know he won the award for the housing, that he put all the people in the slum into the housing, and he won so many awards. He then said, that's a good question. Miss Irma Hutabarat. I was so happy my name was mentioned. And he answered that I have built school, I have built housing, I have built infrastructure. But the most difficult thing and the most important thing to me is to heal my people. They have a lot of wounded, anger, insult, disappointment, you name it. the apartheid, and it's not easy to overcome that. I can't build this nation if they are not healed, because they are not ready. So that's what I did. Send the psychiatrist, the psychologist, the public figure, and the people in each and every village would pay special attention on the wounded person. That was a lot at the time. And I realized that it's not only a big name, but he has a big heart. And the evening after that, that would be the closing party, the farewell party, and everybody was there. I was there too. And somebody came to me and said, Miss Irma Hutabarat, you were the one who asked the question, would you like to dance with Nelson Mandela? Do you want me to answer? Is Pope a Catholic? Of course I want to dance with Nelson Mandela. And he escorted me, and I was dancing. If you ask me how I felt, I see the very compassion person, peaceful and very gentle. And I was dancing with him. I felt honored. And I remember my childhood. I remember my mom, before she died. She told me that, now I understand you. I should have punished you because you were a kid. You've got a golden heart. We have lots of foods on the table. Why would I punish you? And that was the nicest thing that I heard from my mom. And yet, you learn how to dance. She didn't know about it. I told her that the punishment, like a blessing in disguise. So when I was dancing with Nelson Mandela, it felt like I was dancing with life. And this is the message that I want to give to you all. Keep dancing. Keep dancing with life.